My name is Shannon Wilkins, and I have the great pleasure of being the coordinator of the Los Angeles County Finals for Poetry Out Loud. Our first contestant this evening, Tina Lee, and she's from Alhambra Unified School District.
What It Looks Like to Us and the Words We Use by Ada Limon. All these great barns out here in the outskirts. Black creosote boards knee-deep in the blue grass. They look so beautifully abandoned, even in use. You say they look like arks after the seas dried up. I say they look like pirate ships. And I think of that walk in the valley where Jay said, "You don't believe in God?" And I said, "No. I believe in this connection we all have to nature, to each other, to the universe." And she said, "Yeah, God." And how we stood there, low beasts among the white oaks, Spanish moss, and spider webs, obsidian shards stuck in our pockets, woodpecker flurry, and I refused to call it so. So instead, we looked up at the unruly sky. Its clouds in simple animal shapes we could name, though we knew they were really just clouds, disorderly and marvelous, and ours.
Sanctuary by Jean Valentine. People pray to each other. The way I say you to someone else, respectfully, intimately, desperately. The way someone says you to me, hopefully, expectantly, intensely. Hugh Osterhuus. You, who I don't know how to talk to you. What is it like for you there? Here? Well, wanting solitude and talk, friendship, the uses of solitude, to imagine, to hear, learning Braille, to imagine other solitudes, but they will not be mine, to wait in the quiet, not to scatter the voices. What are you afraid of? What will happen? All this leaving and meetings, yes, but death. What happens when you die? Not scatter the voices. Drown out, not make a house out of my own words. To be quiet in another throat, other eyes, listen for what it is like there. What word, what silence, allowing, uncertain to drift in the restlessness. Repose, to run like water. What is it like there, right now? Listen, the crowding of the street, the room, everyone hunches in against the crowding, holding their breath against dread. What do you dread? What happens when you die? What do you dread in this room now? Not listening, now not watching, safe inside my own skin. To die, not having listened, not having asked, to have scattered life. Yes, I know, the thread you have to keep finding over again to follow it back to life. I know. Impossible sometimes.
El Olvido by Judith Ortiz Cofer. It is a dangerous thing to forget the climate of your birthplace, to choke out the voices of dead relatives when in dreams they call you by your secret name. It is dangerous to spurn the clothes you were born to wear for the sake of fashion. Dangerous to use weapons and sharp instruments you are not familiar with. Dangerous to disdain the plaster saints before which your mother kneels, praying with embarrassing fervor that you survive in the place you have chosen to live, a bare, cold room with no pictures on the walls. A forgetting place where she fears you will die of loneliness and exposure. Jesús, María y José, she says. El olvido is a dangerous thing.
Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day, by William Shakespeare? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Negative by Kevin Young. Wake to find everything black. And what was white, all the vice versa. White maids on TV, black sitcom star little white dwarves, cute as a pearl button. Black presidents, black houses, all bleach, burns, clothes, black. Drive roads, white as you are. White songs on the radio, white backup singers, ball players and boxers, all white as tar. Feathers on chickens, dark as everything. Boiling in a pot, they call it the kettle honky. Even whites of the eye turn dark. Pupils clear and changing as a cat's. Is this what we've wanted? Is this what we've waited for? To see snow covering everything black as Christmas. Dark pages written white upon all our eclipses bright. Dark stars shooting across pale sky, glowing like ash in fire, showers every skin. And only money keeps green. Still grows and burns like grass under dark daylight.
Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600.
"For the Light Brigade, charge for the guns," he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. For the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army well. All the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made! All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600.
In Memoriam, Martin Luther King Jr. by June Jordan. Honey, people murder, mercy, USA. The milkland turned to monsters, teach to kill, to violate, pull down, destroy the weekly freedom-growing fruit from being born. America, tomorrow, yesterday, rip, rape, exacerbate, despoil, disfigure, crazy running threat, the deadly thrall, appall, belief, dispel, the wildlife burn the breast, the onward tongue, the outward hand, to form the normal rainy riot, sunshine, shelter, wreck, of darkness, derogate, delimit, blank. Explode, deprive, assassinate, and batten up like bullets. Fatten up the raving greed. Reactivate the springtime. Terrorizing death by men, by more than you or I can. Stop! They sleep who know a regulated place, or pulse, or tide, or changing sky. According to some universal stage direction? Obvious, like shore-washed shells. We share an afternoon of mourning, in between no next predictable, except for wild reversal. Hearse, rehearsal. Bleach the black long a lunging, ritual of fright, insanity, and more. Deplorable abortion, more and more.
I'm a Fool to Love You by Cornelius Eady. Some folks will say the blues is a woman, some type of supernatural creature. My mother would tell you, if she could, about her life with my father, a strange and sometimes cruel gentleman. She would tell you about the choices a young black woman faces. Is falling in love with some man a deal with the devil? In blue terms, the tongue we use when we don't want nuance to get in the way, when we need to talk straight. My mother chooses my father after choosing a man who was, as we sing it, of no account. This man made my father look good. That's how bad it was. He made my father seem like an island in the middle of a stormy sea. He made my father look like a rock. And is the blues the moment you realize you exist in a stacked deck? You look in a mirror at your young face, the face my sister carries, and you know it's the only leverage you've got. Does this create a hurt that whispers, how are you gonna do? Is the blues the moment you shrug your shoulders and agree, a girl without money is nothing. Dust to be pushed around by any old breeze. Compared to this, my father seems, briefly, to be a fire escape. This is the way the blues works its sorry wonders. Makes trouble look like a featherbed. Makes the wrong man's kisses a healing.
And Soul by Yvonne Boland. My mother died one summer, the wettest in the records of the state. Crops rotted in the west, checked tablecloths dissolved in back gardens, empty deck chairs collected rain. As I took my way to her, through traffic, through lilacs dripping blackly behind houses and on curbsides, to pay her the last tribute of a daughter, I thought of something I remembered. I heard once that the body is, or is said to be, almost all water, and as I turn southward, that ours is a city of it, one in which every single day the elements begin a journey towards each other that will never, given our weather, fail. The ocean visible and the edges cut by it, cloud color reaching into air, the Liffey storing one and summoning the other, salt gritting the lack of it at the north wall, and as if that wasn't enough, all of it ending up almost every evening inside our speech. Coast, canal, ocean, river, stream, and now mother. And I drove on. And although the mind is unreliable in grief, at the next cloudburst, it almost seemed they could be shades of each other. The way the body is of every one of them. And now they were on the move again. Fog into mist, mist into sea spray, and both into the oily glaze that lay on the railings of the house she was dying in as I went inside.
The Paradox by Paul Laurence Dunbar. I am the mother of sorrows. I am the ender of grief. I am the bud and the blossom. I am the late falling leaf. I am thy priest and thy poet. I am thy serf and thy king.
I cure the tears of the heartsick. When I come near, they shall sing. White are my hands as the snowdrop. Swart are my fingers as clay. Dark is my frown as the midnight. Fair is my brow as the day. Battle and war are my minions, doing my will as divine. I am the calmer of passions. Peace is a nursling of mine. Speak to me gently or curse me. Seek me or fly from my sight. I am thy fool in the morning. Thou art my slave in the night. Down to the grave will I take thee, out from the noise of the strife. Then thou shalt see me and know me. Death, then no longer, but life. Then thou shalt sing at my coming. Kiss me with passionate breath. Clasp me and smile to have thought me. Aught save the foeman of death. Come to me, brother, when weary. Come when thy lonely heart swells. I'll guide thy footsteps and lead thee down where the dream woman dwells. Thank you.
Actaeon by A.E. Stallings. The hounds, you know them all by name. You fostered them from purblind whelps. At their damn teats you have come, and know the music of their yelps. High-strung Anthe, the brindled bitch, the blue-tick-coated Philomel, and freckled Chloe, who would fetch of pretty price if you would sell. Of fleet of foot and swift descent, inexorable, once on the track. Like angry words you might have meant, but do not mean and can't take back. There was a time when you would brag how they would bay and rend apart. The hopeless belling from a stag, you falter now for the fonder heart. Desires you nursed of a winter night, do you know then why you bred them? Whose needling milk teeth used to bite the master's hand that leashed and fed them?
Cartoon Physics Part 1 by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum. Galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing. All of it acted out in silence. At 10, we're still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. Ten-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake. Thank you.
They are hostile nations. Margaret Atwood. In view of the fading animals, the proliferation of sewers and fears, the sea clogging, the air nearing extinction, we should be kind, we should take warning, we should forgive each other. Instead, we are opposite. We touch as though attacking. The gifts we bring, even in good faith, may be warp in our hands to implements, to maneuvers. Put down the target of me you guard inside your binoculars. In turn, I will surrender this aerial photograph, your vulnerable sections marked in red I have found so useful. See, we are alone in the dormant field. The snow that cannot be eaten or captured here, there are no armies here, there is no money, it is cold and getting colder. We need each other's breathing, warmth. Surviving is the only war we can afford. Stay walking with me. There is almost time. If we can only make it as far as the possibly last summer.
For the Young Who Want To, by Marge Piercy. Talent is what they say you have after the novel is published and favorably reviewed. Beforehand, what you have is a tedious delusion, a hobby like knitting. Work is what you have done after the play is produced and the audience claps. Before that, friends keep asking when you're planning to go out and get a job. Genius is what they know you had after the 3rd volume of remarkable poems. Earlier, they accuse you of withdrawing. Ask why you don't have a baby. Call you a bum. The reason people want MFAs, take workshops with fancy names when all you can really learn is a few techniques, typing instructions, and somebody else's mannerisms, is that every artist lacks a license to hang on the wall. Like your optician, your vet, proving you may be a clumsy sadist whose fillings fall into the stew, but you're certified a dentist. The real writer is one who really writes. Talent is an invention, like phlogiston after the fact of fire. Work is its own cure. You have to like it better than being loved.
Constantly Risking Absurdity, number 15, by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Constantly risking absurdity and death whenever he performs above the heads of his audience. The poet, like an acrobat, climbs on a rhyme to a high wire of his own making, bouncing on I-beams above a sea of faces, paces his way to the other side of day, performing entrechats and slated for tricks and other high theatrics, and all without mistaking anything for what it may not be. For he is the super realist who must perforce perceive taught truth, who must perforce perceive taught truth, who must perforce perceive taught truth. And he, a little Charlie Chaplin man, who may or may not catch her fair, eternal beauty spread eagled to the empty air of existence. Thank you.
Eros Tyrannos by Edwin Arlington Robinson. She fears him and will always ask what fated her to choose him. She meets in his engaging mask all reasons to refuse him. But what she meets and what she fears are less than are the downward years, drawn slowly to the foamless weirs of age were she to lose him. Between a blurred sagacity that once had power to sound him, and love that would not let him be the Judas that she found him. Her pride assuages her almost as if it were alone the cost. He sees that he will not be lost and waits and looks around him. A sense of ocean and old trees envelops and allures him. Tradition, touching all he sees, beguiles and reassures him. And all her doubts of what he says are dimmed with what she knows of days, till even prejudice delays and fades, and she secures him. The falling leaf inaugurates the reign of her confusion. The pounding wave reverberates the dirge of her illusion. And home, where passion lived and died, becomes a place where she can hide, while all the town and harbor side vibrate with her seclusion. We tell you, tapping on our brows, the story as it should be, as if a story of a house were told, or ever could be. We'll have no kindly veil between her visions and those we have seen, as if we guessed what hers have been, or what they are or would be. Meanwhile, we do no harm, for they that with a God have striven, not hearing much of what we say, take what the God has given. Though like waves breaking it may be, or like a changed familiar tree, or like a stairway to the sea, where down the blind are driven.
Mama Said by Calvin Forbes. The slice I ate, I want it back. Those crumbs I swept up, I'd like my share again. I can still taste it like it was. The memory by itself is delicious, both nourishing and sweet. I wish I had saved just a little bit. I know it wasn't a literal cake. It's the thought that counts. Like a gift that's not store-bought, making it even more special. Like a dream that makes you want to go back to sleep. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Mama said. I was defiant and hard-headed and answered, yes, I can too. The look that she gave me said, boy, I hope you aren't a fool all your life. Thank you.
Analysis of Baseball by Mae Swenson. It's about the ball, the bat, and the mitt. Ball hits bat, or it hits mitt. Bat doesn't hit ball, bat meets it. Ball bounces off bat, flies air, or thuds ground, dud. Or it fits mitt. Bat waits for ball to mate. Ball hates to take bat's bait. Ball flirts, bat's late, don't keep the date. Ball goes in, thwack to mitt, and goes out, thwack, back to mitt. Ball fits mitt, but not all the time. Sometimes ball gets hit, pow, when bat meets it, and sails to a place where mitt has to quit in disgrace. That's about the bases loaded. About 40,000 fans exploded. It's about the ball, the bat, the mitt, the bases, and the fans. It's done on a diamond, and for fun. It's about home, and it's about run.
Read by Philip Schultz. My ocean town struggles to pick up leaves, offer summer school, and keep our library open. Every day now, more men stand at the railroad station, waiting to be chosen for work. Because it's thought the Hispanics will work for less, they get picked first, while the whites and blacks avoid the terror in one another's eyes. Our handyman, Santos, who expects only what his hands earn, is proud of his half-acre in Guatemala where he plans to retire. His desire to proceed with dignity is admirable, but he knows that now no one retires. Everyone works harder. My father imagined a life more satisfying than the one he managed to lead. He didn't see himself as uneducated, thwarted, or bitter, but soon to be rich. Being rich was his right, he believed. Happiness, I used to think, was a necessary illusion. Now, I think it's just precious moments of relief like dreams of Guatemala. Sometimes at night, in winter, surrounded by the significant silence of empty mansions which once were cottages where people lived their lives, are now owned by banks and the absent rich. I like to stand at my window, looking for a TV's futile flickering, always surprised to see instead the quaint, porous face of my reflection immersed in its one abundance.
Barter by Sarah Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold. And for your spirit's still delight, holy thoughts that star the night, spend all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. For one white singing hour of peace, count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be.
Domestic situation by Ernest Hilbert. Maybe you've heard about this, maybe not. A man came home and chucked his girlfriend's cat in the wood chipper. This really happened. Dinner wasn't ready on time. A lot of other little things went wrong. He spat on her father, who came out when he learned about it. He broke her pinky, stole her checks, and got her sister pregnant. But she stood by him, stood strong through it all. Because she loved him. She loved him. You see, she actually said that, and then she went and married him. She felt some unique call. Don't try to understand what another person means by love. Don't even bother.
On the Existence of the Soul by Patty Ann Rogers. How confident I am it is there. Don't I bring it as if it were enclosed in a fine leather case to particular places solely for its own sake? Haven't I set it down before the variegated canyon and the undeviating bald salt dome? Don't I feed it on ivory calcium and ruffled shell bellies, shore boulders on the site of the petrol motionless over the sea, its splayed feet hanging? Don't I make sure it apprehends the invisibly fine spray more than once? I have seen that it takes in every detail I can manage concerning the garden walls and its borders. I have listed for it the comings and goings of 100 species of insects explicitly described. I have named the chartreuse stripe and the fin-braided antenna, the bulb thorax and the multiple eye. I have sketched the brilliant wings of the trumpet vine and invented new vocabularies describing the interchanges between rocks and their crevices, between the holly lip and its concept of itself. And if not for its sake, why would I go out into the night alone and stare deliberately straight up into 15 billion years ago and more? I have cherished it. I have named it by my own solicitations. I have proof of its presence. Thank you.
Hunger for Something by Chase Twitchell. Sometimes I long to be in the woodpile, cut apart trees, soon to be smoke, or even the smoke itself. Sinewy ghost of ash and air, going wherever I want to, at least for a while. Neither inside nor out, neither lost nor home, no longer a shape or a name. I'd pass through all the broken windows of the world. It's not a wish for consciousness to end. It's not the appetite an army has for its own emptying heart, but a hunger to stand now and then alone on the death grounds where the dogs of the self are feeding.
Queen's Cemetery, Setting Sun by Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
Airport bus from JFK, cruising through Queens, passing huge, endless cemetery by Long Island's old expressway, once a dirt path for wheelless Indians. Myriad small tombstones tilted up, gesturing statues on parapets, stone arms or wings upraised, lost among illegible inscriptions. And the setting yellow sun, painting all of them on one side only, with an ochre brush. Rows and rows and rows and rows of small stone slabs tilted toward the sun forever. While on the far horizon, Manhattan's great stone slabs, skyscraper tombs, and parapets, casting their own long black shadows over all these long-haired graves, the final restless places of old country potato farmers, dust bin pawnbrokers, Dadegos and Dublin bouncers, tinsmiths and blacksmiths and roofers, house painters and house carpenters, cabinet makers and cigar makers, garment workers and streetcar motormen, railroad switchmen and signal salesmen, swabbers and sweepers and swampers, steam fitters and key punch operators, ward healers and labor organizers, railroad dicks and the small-time mafiosi, shopkeepers and saloon keepers and doormen and icemen and middlemen and conmen, housekeepers and housewives and dowagers, French housemaids and Swedish cooks, Brooklyn barmaids and Bronxville butlers, opera singers and Gandhi dancers, pitchers and catchers, in the days of ragtime baseball, pool room hustlers and fight promoters, Catholic sisters of charity, parish priests and Irish cops, Viennese doctors of delirium, now, all abandoned in eternity. Parcels in a dead letter office. Inscrutable addresses on them. Beyond further deliverance, in an America wheeling past them and disappearing, oblivious, into East River's echoing tunnels, down the great American drain.
The Layers by Stanley Kunitz. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I'm compelled to look, before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites, over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feasts of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat with my will intact, to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes.
All This and More by Mary Carr. The Devil's Tour of Hell did not include a factory line where molten lead spilled into mouths held wide. No electric drill spiraling screws into hands and feet, nor giant pliers to lower you into simmering vats. Instead, a circle of light opened on your stuffed armchair, whose chintz orchids did not boil and change, and the devil adjusted your new spiked antenna almost delicately, with claws curled and lacquered black, before he spread his leather wings to leap into the acid green sky. So, your head became a TV hull, a gargoyle mirror. Your doppelganger, sloppy at the mouth and swollen at the joints, enacted your days in sinuous slow motion, your lines delivered with a mocking sneer. Sometimes the frame froze, reversed, began again. The red eyes of a friend you cursed, your girl child cowered behind the drapes, parents alive again and puzzled by this new form. That's why you crawled your way back to this life.
The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade. Was their man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why. There's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Charged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600. Thank you.
Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Cougar. He was a big man, says, the size of his shoes on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says, the length of a bed in an upstairs room. And the good, God-fearing man, says, the Bible with the broken back on the floor below the window, dusty with sun. But not a man for farming, say the fields cluttered with boulders in the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom wall papered with lilacs and the kitchen shelves covered with oilcloth. And they had a child, say the sandbox made from a tractor tire. And money was scarce, say the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. And winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the field say he was not a farmer. The steel-sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child? His toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a dawn overalls. Something went wrong, they say. Thank you.
Larkanesque by Michael Ryan. Reading in the paper a summary of a 5-year psychological study that shows those perceived as most beautiful are treated differently. I think they could have just asked me. Remembering a kind of pudgy kid in late puberty, the bloody noses and wisecracks because I wore glasses. Though we all know how awful it is for the busty scarlet no one takes seriously. The loveliest women I've lunched with, lamenting the opacity of the body. They can never trust a man's interest, even when he seems not just out for sex. Eyes focus on me above rim of wine glass. And who would want to live like this? And what does beauty do to a man? Don Juan, Casanova, Lord Byron, those fiery eyes and steel jawlines confronts a furnace of self-loathing. All those breathless women rushing to him while hubby's at the office or ball game, primed to be consumed by his beauty while he stands next to it, watching. So maybe the looks we dealt are best. It's only common sense that happiness depends on some bearable deprivation or defect. And who knows what conflicts great beauty could have caused, what cruelties one might have suffered from those now friends, what unmanageable possibilities smiling at every small turn. So, if I get up to draw a tumbler of ordinary tap water and think, what if this were nectar dripping from delicious, burning fingers? Will all I've missed knock me senseless? No, of course not. It won't. Thank you very much.
Ah, why? Because the dazzling sun. Emily Bronte. Ah, why? Because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy. Have you departed, every one, and left a desert sky? All through the night, your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine, and with a full heart's thankful sighs, I blessed that watch divine. I was at peace, and drank your beams as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star, through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence near and far thrilled through and proved us one. But why did the morning rise to break so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? blood red he rose, an arrow straight, his fierce beams struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang, elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still and bathe in gold the misty dale and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night and seer worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do. The pillow glowed and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood and fresh winds shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise and give them leave to roam. O stars and dreams and gentle night, O night and stars, return and hide me from the hostile light that does not warm but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain and only wake with you.
More Lies by Karen Gothschall. Sometimes I say I'm going to meet my sister at the cafe, even though I have no sister, just because it's such a beautiful thing to say. I've always thought so, ever since I read a novel in which two sisters were constantly meeting in cafes. Today, for example, I walked alone on the wet sidewalk, wearing my rain boots, expecting someone might ask where I was headed. I bought a steno pad and a watch battery. The store windows fogged up. Rain in April is a kind of promise, and it costs nothing. I carried a bag of books to the cafe and ordered tea. I like a place that's lit by lamps. I like a place where you can hear people talk about small things like the difference between azure and cerulean and the price of tulips. It's going down. I watch someone who could be my sister walk in, shaking the rain from her hair. I thought, even now, florists are filling their coolers with tulips. $5 a bundle. All over the city, there are sisters. Any one of them could be mine. Thank you.
For the Young Who Want To by Marge Piercy. Talent is what they say you have after the novel is published and favorably reviewed. Beforehand, what you have is a tedious delusion, a hobby like knitting. Work is what you have done after the play is produced and the audience claps. Before that, your friends are asking when you are going to go out and get a job. Genius is what they know you had after the third volume of remarkable poems. Earlier, they accuse you of withdrawing. They ask why you don't have a baby, call you a bum. The reason people want MFAs take workshops with fancy names when all you can really learn is a few techniques, typing instructions, and somebody else's mannerisms, is that every artist lacks a license to hang on their wall, like your optician, your vet, proving you may be a clumsy sadist whose fillings fall into a stew, but you're certified a dentist. The real writer is one who really writes. Talent is an invention like phlogiston, after the fact of fire. Work is its own cure. You have to like it better than being loved. Thank you.
A Locked House by W.D. Snodgrass. As we drove back, crossing the hill, the house still hidden in the trees, I always thought, a fool's fear, that it might have caught fire. Someone could have broken in, as if things must have been too good here. Still, we always found it locked tight, safe and sound. I mentioned that once as a joke. No doubt we spoke of the absurdity to fear some dour god's jealousy of our good fortune. From the farm next door, our neighbors saw no harm came to the things we cared for here. What did we have to fear? Maybe I should have thought, all such things rot, fall. Barns, houses, furniture, we too are stronger than we were apart. We've grown together. Everything we own can burn. We know what counts, some such idea. We said as much. We'd watch friends driven to betray, felt that love drained away some self they need. We said love, like a growth, can feed on hate we turn in and disguise. We warned ourselves that you might despise me, hate all we both loved best. None of us ever guessed. The house still stands, locked as it stood untouched a good 2 years after you went. Some things passed in the settlement. Some things slipped away. Enough's left that I come back sometimes. The theft and vandalism were our own. Maybe we should have known. Thank you.
Epilogue by Robert Lowell. Those blessed structures, plot and rhyme, why are they of no help to me now? I want to make something imagined, not recalled. I hear the noise of my own voice. The painter's vision is not a lens. It trembles to caress the light. But sometimes, everything I write with threadbare art of my eye seems a snapshot, lurid, rapid, garish, grouped, heightened from life, yet paralyzed by fact. All is misalliance. Yet why not say what happened? Praise for the grace of accuracy Vermeer gave to the sun's illumination, stealing like a tide across the map to his girl, solid with yearning. We are poor passing facts, warned by that to give each figure in the photograph his living name. Thank you.
Well, I am quite sure that you all feel exactly like I do. What an extraordinary evening of poetry. Our first runner-up this evening will receive a $50 gift card for poetry books. And it goes to Christina Alexian. Alexian. And our winner this evening is Aaron Rabanowitz. And Aaron has a $100 gift card to buy poetry books.